Yeah, we're on Rumble. Yeah. Hey, everybody. So we are going uh, live in a very different location. I'm at a hotel in Saskatoon, and of course, the king of Saskatchewan, Mark Friesen, is here with me. And so it's so good to be together. We're kind of combining. He's sharing out this interview far and wide. So I have received from 50 people or more a story that a woman named Steph put out onto Facebook. And would you believe she shared her phone number? And so she's probably going to have to change her phone number. But she shared a riveting story about what's going on there. Now, Mark, you took that story, you put it up to Twitter, and you got how many views?
390,000. It's just under 400,000 at the moment.
So he gets her story, just paste it up to to his Twitter, and it just goes viral. And the reason is because it's so very, very concerning. Now, just before we bring them on, let's see what mainstream media is kind of saying about this. JT, I think I have this share here. This is regarding the CTV. The environment is unsafe. BC firefighting crews pulled from North Shushwap amid ongoing tensions. Okay, understand something crazy here. So the environment is unsafe, and the BC firefighter crews are pulled from North Shushwap amid ongoing tensions. This is nuts. Before, I'll just put that video up in a moment, but firefighting crews were pulled from BC's North Shushwap late Wednesday as community tensions escalated into a confrontation with RCMP officers manning a roadblock into an evacuation zone. The BC Wildfire Service announced the withdrawal of firefighting personnel on Facebook post referencing an organized effort to get around the RCMP's roadblock on Highway 1. So, so they have to get around the RCMP's roadblock, Mark, in order to fight fires for the good people of Canada. This is the latest of several decisions that have significantly impacted operational activities in the area. The BCWs wrote, at this time, the environment is unsafe. No kidding. So we want to let's bring on Steph and Jome. Thank you very much for joining us. So, Steph, you put out a post that was very, very disturbing to a lot of people. And you basically outlined a story that I'd just like you to tell us in your own words, because pretty much all of Canada has seen it. But you're describing a situation that is kind of showing that they're not doing all they can do to help people to save their homes. And you literally had to yell at the firemen. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, that's right. I didn't put a post out. I wrote a story and sent a text out to my friends, and then just my friends in my phone book in my phone, and the rest is whatever happened. It just went everywhere. I'm not on social media, so that's how that got out there. And yeah, there was a huge lack of communication. They didn't tell us that they were doing backburn. And yeah, we ended up having to save our own home and everybody else's in the valley.
Right. So I want to ask Mark, have you ever done firefighting? You haven't actually been out there. I don't know if it's a huge problem in Saskatchewan since you have no trees. It's completely flat. No. Just kidding. Okay. But
2/3 of our province is forest, by the way.
Okay.
So we do have fires.
I haven't seen it. It's very flat. But here was the thing. So when you saw Steph's post that she just sent to your friends, that might be why you put your phone number, and you didn't think that all of Canada would now have your phone number, right, Steph? But when you saw that,
more,
why did you
more than
share?
Canada.
Yeah, the world.
It's more than
right?
Canada. I got calls from Germany and Sweden and Australia, Mexico, everywhere, South America, everywhere. I've gotten calls from everywhere.
All over the States.
All over the States, everywhere.
Well, it was alarming to me, and I'm sure
you. So when I read Steph's story, I was like, wow, this has to be blowing up. People need to understand what's happening in that area. And so I was all over it. I posted it to Twitter, I posted it to Facebook, and it's sort of gone viral because it's such a riveting story. And when you count on the firefighters to help save people's property and lives. And they're sitting there having coffee. You start to question, especially when you talk about the backburn and how this initiated. And I mean, they light a backburn, and I understand the mechanism behind that. But when you light a backburn and there's forecasted 30 kilometer an hour or 50 kilometer an hour winds blowing in the direction of people's homes, why are they lighting a backburn? So it raises a lot of questions, and I just thought the story needed to be out there, and we've managed to do that.
Yeah, thank you so much. So maybe Jome and Steph, tell us your story, like the whole thing from start to finish. About you comment on the backburn in your post and the concern about not getting the help. So how did it all begin? Jome, maybe you can start and Steph will take over.
So, what was it?
Tuesday, I
The
think.
day, the day previous to the to this whole thing exploding on us was I was sitting at work, and I'd been monitoring that fire for weeks. I know that it's in a proximity to my house. It wasn't very close. It was 15 kilometers away, which I guess is close for a lot of people. But we live in BC, and that's just part of the life out here. But what I do is I don't work very close to home, so I do keep an eye on the wind forecast. I've seen some things burn down before and understand what wind can do to a relatively, uh, a relatively safe fire. So I was watching the wind. I noticed that, in about a day or day and a half, we were expecting to have wind gusts from 17 to 30 kilometers an hour. It was forecasted. It was from the direction of the fire directly to our area. So I told the boss that I wasn't going to come in tomorrow, and I was going to go home and start prepping for this forest fire, with it potentially making that leap of that large of a distance in however long this windstorm was supposed to last, roughly 24 hours or something like that. So with it being 15 kilometers away, 30 kilometer an hour winds, you don't have to be that smart to realize that you could end up in some shit pretty quick. So got up the next day, went home. We're running around gathering, garden hoses and filling up cisterns and things like that. We have a new build out there that we just completed this summer. We don't have a well in yet, so we have a 13,000 liter cistern. So we made sure we had that topped right up in case we needed water supply. There's a couple of wells in the area. A couple of the neighbors have wells that you can draw from. We set up generators at those wells in the event that we were going to lose power, because there's only one power line coming in there. There's no fire hydrant support or anything like that where we are. The closest fire hydrant's about 5 or 6 kilometers down the road. So we did have access to water in a fairly close proximity, but we didn't have any directly to the house. So we thought we had, an entire day before the winds were going to come and before this fire would make it to us. So we weren't, we were working, but not frantically. You can see the ridge 12 kilometers away where the fire was on the other side of it from our place. So you can keep a view. You could actually watch for it to come. And then we saw a helicopter fly through the valley. I was on the roof of my neighbor's house installing sprinklers on the neighbor's house. We did save all of our neighbors as well. And there's like a little hill about a kilometer, maybe half a kilometer from our home, in between us and the ridge where we were watching the fire come over. A helicopter flew by, which I guess was the helicopter that lit the burn, but we didn't. I mean, it was so small, like whatever they dropped incendiary devices, we obviously couldn't see that. But we did know a bunch of smoke started coming up from the hill just on the other side of our place. So this backburn, they brought 10 kilometers closer to our house and started it just on the other side of the hill, adjacent to our property. And so we saw smoke very, very close, a great big huge plume of it. And shortly after the plume was going up in the air, there was very little wind at the time. It was like this huge sort of mushrooming cloud that was just sort of going up, and we noticed how close it was. And then not long after that, it blew directly over top of us. And then the wind came, and the next 3 days were,
Mayhem.
Yeah, we're really quite chaotic, and we got into it. We got into it hard.
So is that
Yeah.
does that sort of lead you up to Steph, where sorry, I lost the pictures there, JT. Does that lead us up to where you saw some firemen and you wanted to try to get some help then?
No. So my husband and our neighbor were sitting on top of the roof of his house putting up these sprinklers, and they looked over and saw it coming, like it was starting to get dark. So you could see the flames coming over this little hill. And I don't even remember what happened between then. I just remember walking into the house and getting ready, putting on our clothes. We put on like steel toe boots and grabbed our high vis gear and our masks and our water packs and hard hats, and got into the truck and drove down to the neighbor's property, where we did see the fire department, and there was like the fire department and a couple of other trucks.
Yeah. So we assumed, and they still at this point hadn't told us they were doing a backburn. I didn't know where this fire came from that was directly on the other side of this hill, how big it was, what the conditions of it were. And then so they came and they were rolling around and they were like, "Oh, well, we're evacuating this area to go." And I was like, what exactly is going on here, you guys? Like, how did this fire all of a sudden get here? And they were just like, "Well, there's an evacuation order. You guys have to go. This fire's out of control. It's coming through here. It can't be stopped. If you guys stay here, you're going to die." And I was like, "Well, I'm not going anywhere, man." Like, I mean, we only were armed with like, piss tanks and garden hoses. We had we had an old dump truck that our buddy got for $400 that half of the tires were flat on it. It had no plate on it, and and an old water cistern in the back. No exhaust. This thing was actually quite cool. And a gas pump on there, and we had 100 foot of hose. The field, like, we're at the end of a dead end road in the bottom of a valley that was facing where the fire was coming from. So we knew we always had an escape route. We could always just get in our trucks and bail. It wasn't going to block off our road or anything like that. So I was like, well, I'm going to stick around and see what we can do. And if we got to bail, we'll jump in our trucks and we'll get the hell out of here. It didn't take long. Like by the time the fire got there, we had all our sprinklers going. We had a couple of huge sprinklers in this field, which was like the last row. My buddy ran out there with his tractor and cut down all the grass just previous to the fire coming. And we had a huge sprinkler on a reel and a generator screaming, and
2-inch hoses.
Yeah, 2-inch hoses, and they were just saturating this field. And then it wasn't much longer that the fire came roaring up over this hill, and the whole row of trees along the top all ignited at one time, and this thing was roaring and screaming, and we were standing in this field with piss tanks, and there was 3 of us standing there with piss tanks, and this like category 5 fire ripping over this hill in front of us.
It just ate the forest and rumbled the earth.
Yeah, it lit the whole thing on fire at one
once.
time. Yeah, like it wasn't moving tree to tree. It was carrying through there and just charring. Everything was just like
incinerating it.
I'd never seen anything like it. I'm not a firefighter. The sound was like, I'll never forget it. It was terrifying.
Just so the sound.
It started just like raining ashes on us, and I was like in my mask and I had my water pack on my back, and I was like standing there looking at this wall of flames, and I looked over at my neighbor and was just like, what are we doing? And he put his hand on my shoulder and said, it's going to be okay. And then it started raining ashes everywhere. And we just started
embers. Yeah.
It started raining embers everywhere. And we just started pointing and screaming fire and running and putting stuff out.
Yeah. And that's basically how the next, 40 hours straight went.
Yeah.
We're filling up piss packs, running around in golf carts and quads, covering our whole area, because it just drops. Like, we talk about embers and you think about these little orange things in that you see at campfires or whatever, but these things were like the size of cell phones. They were like pieces of branches
Bigger.
that were on fire, that were landing all over the place like confetti. And we managed to, when the fire came over, it hit our dome of moisture, and it split in half, and it actually went up the sides of the valley. And all of the homes and everything are down in the bottom of the valley. So we managed to keep it up on the sides, and it went up on the sides and it went past us. By the time the fire came over the hill, the fire department bugged out entirely. They were gone, nowhere to be found. So we did all this on our own. And then once it went up the sides and it went around, still everything was on fire almost completely around us. We just ran around with piss packs for the next 2 days, and with the crazy Mad Max truck with the water tank on the back, and we just put out as many fires as we could. We'd find fires that were the size of maybe 600-700 square feet burning in right in the middle of our area in a field, and we'd have to go into the bush and figure out how to get water in there. And at some points, like, we had some heavy equipment up there. We had a decent size hoe and bulldozer. So if the fire within our space lit on, it was large enough that we couldn't fight it with piss tanks, we would just drive a piece of equipment right into the field and smash it up.
Bury it,
yeah.
Well,
so there was a point where the fire was like, I think I sent you that video, Mark, where the fire was like raging through our backyard. And it was at that point where it was like eating our entire back mountainside, that our personal post that runs our sprinklers decided to fail.
Yeah.
And the fire, another guy that was down the road, and he's like, you guys gotta go. Like, he's like, you guys gotta go. And my neighbor and my husband were trying to like hot wire this pump into like the electrical panel and like somehow get the thing working so that we could go and our house wouldn't burn down. And it just started raging by so fast, and it was like, we gotta go, guys. So we jumped in the truck and drove down the road. I don't know how many kilometers, but
it's about a K and a half.
About a K and a half or something like that. And we were sitting down the road. One of the other guys, there was another guy there. He lived at the very, very beginning of the road. He was sitting there, and we all went down, and we all just kind of like had a meltdown, and just, I guess, really felt defeated, sat there for a little bit. And then my husband was like, there's got to be something that we can do. And our neighbor was like, go back. Let's just go look.
Can I ask you guys, are these pictures, are these pictures are like right?
Yeah, it's my backyard.
At your farm?
That's your backyard.
That's the backyard, and the other picture's on our front window.
Yeah. That's the lean-to
That's
of our
from
house.
your window. Yeah.
Yeah. The first one is right.
So imagine
we
everyone, if you're looking out.
Yeah, we went upstairs for a beer.
Window. That's terrorizing.
Yeah.
That's my living room window.
That is so scary.
Yeah, we went upstairs to get some fresh air and have a beer in the middle of this. And I took those pictures. I took those pictures sitting on the couch.
Yeah. So what's this?
Yeah. That was the following day.
Yeah. There's lots of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Days of that.
So we went down the road, and my husband and my two neighbors went back. They're like, we just got to go and look. And they went down the road, and I sat with my other neighbor who lives at the other end for quite some time. We were sitting there, and he's like, we should go and check on them. So we got in his truck, drove down to our house. And when I got there, the like main part of the fire that had like incinerated everything had gone by. And there was like, everything was still like on fire, but it wasn't like that hot incinerating heat that was going through. It was just like everything else that was just like left in charcoal and, like the smoldering ground fires.
Yeah.
I went to make sure that they were okay, and then I went back down the road and sat there for some time again. And that's when there is a industrial company, getting supplies across.
Yeah, we helped that guy.
Yeah, we helped him.
You helped him.
He was trying
Okay.
to get his.
So is he pumping water from the lake into those tanks?
No, he was
Is he
moving those
pumping
cubes
water?
from one side of the lake to the other I believe, to go get water to his cattle.
He was dropping them off on the other side of the lake because the roadblocks weren't allowed. He was smuggling in illegal contraband behind enemy lines.
Oh, he's probably going to be arrested and facing charges. Okay.
Unbelievable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
unbelievable.
a fucking joke.
Okay, keep going, Steph.
So I went back down the road and sat in my vehicle, or in our vehicle, because I couldn't be there anymore. And there's a fairly well-known company out there. I'm not going to say their name, but there was a truck with two guys that pulled up, and they asked what I was doing. I told them I was sitting and waiting for my husband because they went back to see if they could fix our pump. And he said, well, the fire department's sitting down at so-and-so's field. They're just sitting there. And I was like, what? I'm going to get them. And he was like, where's your husband? And I gave him my address. And he's like, you want me to go tell him where your husband or what you're doing? And I said, yes, please. And so I drove down to this field and knew exactly where they were. And I pulled up and I was like, hey guys, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, hey, what's going on? And I was like, there's we need your help. I was like, there are spot fires everywhere. The fire itself is gone, and I was like, there's spot fires everywhere. The
whole place was still on fire.
It was still on fire.
It just didn't have that intense head on it that creates its own weather and makes its own windstorm. That part so was on fire, burning slowly, and
doing its thing.
Yeah.
And so I was like, can you guys get into your vehicles and come and help us? And there was a woman there. I don't know what her name was. She said that they were just handing over command and that they would discuss with dispatch what they were to do. And one of the guys who I had recognized from a few days ago walked up and said, like, we do not want to be sitting here. And I was like, then get in your trucks and come and help us. And nobody said to me, okay, we'll come and help you. Nobody said anything. I just turned around in my vehicle and I went down back down the road and went to the house and said, I went and got the fire department, and I thought that they were right after me. And we sat around for a bit. There was nobody there. I don't know how much time went by. And then I went back up the road and I found them sitting about half a kilometer to a kilometer away. And I got out of my truck and I was like, are you guys coming? And he's like, well, we've already been down this road. And I was like, yeah, but like there's spot fires everywhere. You guys can come and help us. And he's like, well, we've already been down here and we're assessing. And I was like, how can you be assessing if you're not even there to look at it? And I was like, I was like, what you're telling me is you're not going to come? And he never said anything. And so I just got in my truck, I turned around and I waited and I started driving, and then they started following me. And then as we got down to like where all of our neighbors' houses are, I just started like, I'd pull over and I would point in the woods and I was like, there, 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 and there. And then we all ran around putting fires out until like 6 o'clock in the morning or something. Structural protection showed up.
Yeah.
Quick
So
question for you guys.
Didn't they tell you that they were told to stand down?
No, I never heard that.
They were
okay.
They said that they did not want to be sitting there, so their orders were to sit there. Yeah. Otherwise, they would have been doing something else. If they were ordered to do something else, they would have been doing it.
Yeah, they didn't outright say that they were supposed to stand down, but they just said they had no orders and they can't operate or action fires without it.
They didn't say that either. They said they did not want to be sitting around.
Yeah.
Right.
So they helped us for a bit. They put out a few spot fires along the road. They didn't get into the bush too deep or really get themselves too dirty. and then the fire was still, it went past us and it was heading for town. So they had to bugger off and go deal with that, which I completely understand or whatever. I would have liked to have gone with them, but we were still surrounded by fire and we're not nearly out of the woods yet. So they buggered off at that point, and then, like Steph said, we ran it. We ran around with our piss packs until in the
6 o'clock in
morning.
the morning.
The structural protection guys showed up. They were able to lend me a pump, though we had Jimmy rigged one up at my place, so we had at least one sprinkler going on the roof. But they came and set me up good with a good pump, and
A bladder at the end of the road.
yeah,
And they tied into our sprinkler system that we put up. And then they said that they were going to come around every half an hour, run the pumps, and fill the bladders to all the houses.
but what had happened, and we didn't know, they just disappeared and stopped coming around. But what we didn't know was that the fire chased all of these crews all the way down to the water, and I believe they ended up jumping on a boat and actually tearing out of there. Which is that's just a story I heard. I wasn't there. And then the town, after the fire passed us, most of the town got wiped out. There was several locals down there that remained to fight fires, and several structures were saved. They saved the school, they saved the gas station, they saved a whole block of houses. But a couple of our friends lost their homes, and a huge chunk of town was completely gone. As well, it jumped over the mountain, it went down and wiped out another town. The fire department. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but their fire department burnt down.
Yeah, you guys have been under some kind of crazy stress. Like, we haven't been able to believe these pictures, like you can see on your screen there, of such an epic fire. How long have you guys lived in the area, and have you had to fight fires like this before?
We just moved in there full time. I've lived out there on and off. I worked out there for several years, and I've been snowmobiling in the area for 7 years. Like, I've been in the area collectively for 10 years. We just in the last year figured out how we were going to live out there and got our house, and it ended up taking 6-8 months longer than it was supposed to get it finished. It's still not exactly finished. If you look in the photos, we still got some siding to do in a deck, but um, yeah, we've only been out there full time recently for a few months, but I've been out there for years.
Were you able to save your product ultimately at the end of the day? You guys
Sorry,
have
can
to
you
do
say
that
that?
yourself. You guys saved your
Oh yeah,
property.
we did. We
Yeah.
did it. We saved our property. We would have. There's absolutely no question in my mind. All of us, all of the community, the 15 structures that we saved, like all of our neighbors and everybody around us. Like, I'd say the largest chunk of our town that's remaining was the spot that we guarded. Um,
Right.
the rest of the place is ashes.
Good for you. Good work.
We dug our heels
Yeah.
in and fought. Like,
Right.
What is the sentiment of some of the other neighbors that you're near? Um, when we see this CTV news report basically saying BC firefighting crews pulled from North Shushwap amid ongoing tensions, what does that mean to you guys up there?
um, I have an opinion. I don't care about BC wildfires. They're 1% as effective as we are. Um, the roadblocks are the most egregious part of this whole thing, not allowing us the reason, like the generators, for example, that we're using for our pumps run out of fuel. The gas stations there are closed, so we can't get to the gas stations. The next gas station over in the next town has a roadblock in between it, so they won't let us fuel up. Um, we have a good network of backcountry boys out there that ran. Like, I spent, after my house was fine and my town had burnt to the ground, there was still, like I said, there's still days and days of spot fires and stuff to deal with to protect your place. I spent the next 3 days with my pals running stuff across the lake illegally, apparently, um, to get the boys the stuff that they needed to continue this battle.
Our
Right.
friends continually like kept on text messaging us like, hey man, can somebody help me come and deal with this thing that's eating the bottom of my driveway? So we'd like run up there and help our friends put spot fires out so it didn't eat across their property.
Yeah,
Unreal.
these fires with all the old dead growth and the logs and peat on the ground, these fires will be burning around our homes for months, I figure.
Sure.
It's just one of those things. People are going to have fires popping up around their place for the next while, probably until winter or later.
Wow. What do you think about the coverage of mainstream media as they are trying to tell the story? Are you seeing accuracy on the nightly news?
No. We've watched them do interviews with people that have told stories like this, and the only part of the interview that they put on their show is the part where he says, our community really bound together and we worked together and we tried hard and we saved our place. That's the only part of the article. They left out the part where the cops had spike belts, where the government basically came in here and fucked this up. They left everything out that was real and factual about the story and just left the sugar coated fluff bit at the end. Like it's
Naturally.
absolutely pathetic.
They interviewed our friends
Yeah,
and then we
They are
watched it
pathetic.
and they were like, this is not what happened.
those guys have no credibility. They've all contacted us since. Like Global has wanted to do an interview with us, CBC. We just called them propagandist swine and told them to lose our phone number.
100%. That's exactly what they are.
Good for you.
Yeah,
Good for you.
they're not going to tell our story. Like we were like,
No.
okay, maybe we'll do a live one. But yeah, they'll just turn off the camera when we start saying stuff that goes against their, if I came on there and said it's global boiling, we have to change the world and start eating crickets, they'd have been all over it. But
Right.
but they'd have to hold a gun to my head.
Right.
Can I ask about the severity of these fires as opposed to other years? If you have any experience with that, like I'm hearing that the most hectares of all time have burned, and also the heat factor. Some people saying that these fires seem hotter. I don't know. Any thought on that?
Fires are hot. Yeah. I don't know. I can tell you it was quite hot. Yeah. Um,
I don't know.
the severity. What I think has changed. I was in Kelowna when Kelowna burnt in 2000. I lived right on the. I wasn't involved directly in the fire. I watched how it started. It was a lightning strike. I watched it smolder for days with nobody doing anything, and then I watched a windstorm come and blow it into town. So lessons learned there. It's 20 years later, and I still have a house. So I don't know why our forestry department hasn't picked up on this yet. It's interesting to me that we don't. Their protocol is to not action a fire until it's out of control. Um, I'm not going to speculate as to why they do this. I can tell you that there's big money involved. There's a huge power grab involved in the middle of this. It's their fire. They're the ones that are allowed to deal with it. They want everybody out of there, so they can't have eyewitnesses to how poorly managed this is. And I think the more structures that burn down, the more money they get. It's the same with the police getting more funding for having more crime and expecting them to do something about the crime. It's really I believe at the end of the day it's a horribly corrupt system full of bureaucracy that's just completely not needed. If they had a bunch of old boys like us, it'd be different. I think firefighting 25, 30 years ago, we never used to lose structures. It was a very rare case that a forest fire would take out a structure because they actually used to fight it. Now they just a fire's coming, they'll tell you to leave and then they'll leave and then they'll go to the next line and then they'll evacuate that area. They'll watch the fire come in and then they'll leave. They don't actually action these fires. They literally just chase you out and watch your house burn down.
Right.
They're
What
not.
Right.
what is going on then? What is it? Just incompetence? ignorance? Is it they have a new
I
method?
can't say, I'd like to say, like, don't blame anything on malice that you can blame on incompetence, but I don't know how you could be so stupid as to light a backburn under those conditions with winds blowing it right into town. The
In a 2 hour window. So like they
I don't
posted the notice at 3 o'clock and they knew the winds were going to do 180 degrees at 5 o'clock and be a problem. How much fuel between the community and the fire are you going to burn in 2 hours?
Right. I believe it's all by design, to be honest with you.
they effectively by this backburn, they effectively cost us a day of prep, which we could have been. I mean, as it turns out, we were prepped enough, but
Could have been better.
we could have been prepped better. We're likely
Right.
scarred for life. This was an absolutely horrific 48 hours. Being that terrified and that stressed out for that period of time, like I still can't get it out of my head and my body. Like I hope I go back to normal at some point. But they cost us a great deal of time, and
Yeah,
and a whole
I'm
lot of
thinking
bullshit.
I'm thinking about the stress you're talking about, and I think that's what hit me when we were reading Steph's call SOS. That
Yeah,
that if I was in your shoes, if any Canadian reads that, I think that's why it's been spread across the world. Anyone who has
They
a home
drove
who yeah.
they drove up and down that road coming and checking. Like the fire department came up and down the road coming and checking, and not once did they stop and tell us that there was a backburn, that they were doing one. My next door neighbor's wife said there's a backburn. She's like, I think it's a backburn. And then one of her friends from Anglemont sent the picture to her of the notice that they posted at the gas station.
that's probably 10 kilometers away from our house.
That's how we found out.
I got wind of this. Someone showed me a picture of this notice at the gas station while we were well into this fight. They were like, "Here, come read this," and I was like, "I don't fucking have time for that, man. Like, we're fighting a forest fire. I don't care."
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're so sorry, so sorry for what you've been through. We resonate with the crisis that you have. Is there anything that Canadians can do right now for all of you?
I I can't say. I don't know. We're still things are so. I don't know how to navigate this issue with the roadblock. They still have our community completely blocked off. Um, I just can't wrap my head around how this. They're saying it's about looting. The North Shushwap's had a looting problem for 10 years. We've told the cops who the crackheads are and where they are, because it's a seasonal place. Like, most of the houses remain empty from the time the kids go back to school until they come in the spring. We've been getting looted out there forever. They've never cared. Suddenly they care. It's a
Right.
big deal about, yeah.
Yeah.
So
All of
I've
a
even
sudden,
put it
looting
to the couple
matters.
of police at the roadblock, like, would you rather have your TV stolen or have your house burned down? And he agreed with me that it was ridiculous, but he was just at the end of the day following orders. This is what you have to do at work. I know I have a job. I have to do what I'm told at work. So we sort of found a common ground there. I get it. It's the people in charge of this whole thing that need to be hung by their toes.
Who are
The
they? Do you know any names?
backburn was, oh, I don't even, we haven't had a chance to figure any of that out yet. I was running stuff across the lake all day yesterday and the day before. We've just finally had a day to sit here with our boy and hang out. We're in a camper about 100 kilometers away from the fire right now.
Wow. Wow.
And then
So
they put out a news release saying that their backburn was successful. So we have people now calling us a liar because they read on the news
Of course,
that
it's
it was a
successful.
success when
Yeah.
I watched the fire they start, go past my house and burn my town, and that is somehow a success in the eyes of,
Success.
I mean,
Right.
yeah. But what else are you going to say, right? Like, you're not going to say, "Oh, we completely dropped the ball there and screwed it up and just about killed people and burnt down 2 towns
Right.
and a fire hall."
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
because they
is the
won't take
most
any
ridiculous thing I've
accountability.
ever. Pardon me.
Yeah, they won't take any accountability in this.
there's a lot of really upset people right now in the Shushwap that witnessed it. I understand, like in a lot of cities, you're going to have, throw out an evacuation order and 99% of the people are going to leave. This fire happened in a place where there's a group of people that just wanted to be left alone. After the last few years of what's gone on in the world, that's why we're out there. We're a bunch of tough people, and we have absolutely no faith in the government, and that's why we stayed, and that's why we still have our homes, and that's why this is getting blown out of proportion. They're going to say anything that they can say to discredit us, because the stories that are going to come out of there are absolutely scathing.
And we saw what happened in Turtle Valley year before last.
That's not far, yeah.
And it's not far from our house. And we heard the stories, and we knew that the locals were told to stand down, and that they would be sued if they went out and helped with the fires with their own machinery. So we knew exactly what we were getting into when this was happening. And we knew we were by ourselves down there.
Tell us about Turtle Valley. What happened that you knew about?
The same thing. Yeah.
They did the exact same thing. I don't know the exact whole story. There's a documentary on YouTube that you can look up. I don't know all of the details or anything, but it was virtually the same thing.
Yeah, I just remember seeing a YouTube shot of a farmer with a tank on the back of his truck and a gas pump.
Yeah, in the woods.
Much exactly like the situation that we went through. Yeah. And he said the government's a bunch of arsonists. He said they'll come and they'll light all these fires. They're a bunch of pyromaniac psychopaths. And they will light a huge fire in your neighborhood, and then they'll chase you out of there and watch your house burn down. Like, these people are absolute psychopaths. I'm certain that this has something to do with the large money involved in the forestry and firefighting aspect of this whole thing. And I think...
Well, so I just want to shed a little light on this. So you folks that live in that area are very self-reliant, self-determinate, independent, and all about community. And you guys stood up together and defended your homes. That's why they're targeting you, because that's exactly what you represent. You scare them, right? People like that can handle themselves and aren't dependent on government is scary to the government.
Yeah.
Likely.
Yeah.
This is why we put ourselves out here like this. We put our name and phone number on this post, and I don't care if you don't like it. I don't care if you got a problem. I'm not scared of that fire, and I'm not scared of these people. I don't give a shit what they think. They can come at me however they want. Good luck to them.
Safe. We hope that the crisis and the stress of it is somehow compensated by some justice in this situation ahead. Thank you so much for sharing this. If you have any final words of advice to other people still fighting fires, maybe let them know now.
I got some advice. Don't leave. Don't listen to them. As long as you have an escape route, stay and fight. You'll know when it's time to go. That's it.
And be prepped. Sprinklers on your roof, generators, some hoses. Have a plan with your neighbors. We're not telling you to run into head first into class 5 fire. That is really bad legal advice. But a fire. There was a 70-year-old man, 70 years old. He sat with a garden hose on his roof.
Yeah.
Nobody came to help him, and he sat on there with a garden hose, and he saved his house. And did all the houses burn? All the houses burnt around him.
Yeah.
And he saved his own house by himself with a garden hose.
Sat there for 14 hours.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So fire, you only need a little bit of water in order to create a humidity bubble over, and the fire will go over you and around you.
Yeah.
Right.
Sprinklers go a long way, and they don't need to be lots.
It can be done. You can do it. That's it.
Very good. Thank you guys for sharing your story again with us. And we know that obviously you're probably still busy and probably have things to do for the rest of your day. So
what were you going to say? Your final comment there, Steph, you were going to say something.
I had a guy that contacted me that said the most effective way to deal with a fire like that is to have a big vat of water with dish soap in it, like 10 mils to like a 5-gallon bucket. 10 mils of a teaspoon of dish soap to a 5-gallon bucket is more effective. It'll put out, he said it'll put 5-foot flames. Like,
wow.
that's, I just, yeah. So like you can fight a fire with dish soap and water. And he said that he was effective at helping with the Lytton fire, and that he was so effective that that BC Wildfire Services actually blacklisted him.
Right. Really well.
Unbelievable. It's so shocking. It's actually jaw-dropping. And to think of what you've been through, we're just so sorry. And we're going to get the word out far and wide to make sure that they've got their dish soap in their water, and don't leave, fight your own fires. I mean, you know, it's the kind of advice that you think that they're going to try blackballing us. They're going to say, oh, you guys are all spreading terrible misinformation. And this is exactly what they've been doing, you know, for a long time, hiding good information and incompetence.
And they've made it so that courageous acts are looked upon as though they're reckless and selfish.
Oh, you're endangering the rescue people.
Yeah.
You're stealing resources, whatever. These people were not even within 2 kilometers of us. We didn't fucking endanger nobody.
They said they weren't coming to help us, so they were not in danger at all.
Yeah. We agreed they
Well,
yeah.
Good for you guys.
Yeah.
You're the salt of the earth.
You really are. And we hope to get an update as time goes on too, you know, how it's all panned out. Anything that comes back on you from the authorities, please let us know. Yeah. You know, you guys are just heroes. Thank you. Yeah, God bless you in your journey.
The thing that I just want to say to everybody is that we really appreciate the support that this story has gotten. I didn't know that it was going to get this much attention. It's literally gone, like, I think around the world a couple of times. So, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thanks
You're
for pointing
welcome.
out the SOS.
Our pleasure.
Yeah. Take care. God bless.
Take care, you guys.
Thank you.
Okay, guys.
Well, you know what? I know how I would feel. I think that's why we got alarmed. I think that's why everyone and their dog is sending us this story, and you put it up, and you know, and it went viral on Twitter. Is because everybody really, you know, thinks about how this is impacting us, our community. I'm pretty in shock.
Well, it's a pretty good indication of, you know, the government wants us all dependent on them.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, it's the people, it's the community that fought this fire and saved their properties. It wasn't the government. So if there's a moral to the story, always rely on your community. Don't rely on the government, because the government is setting you up to fail at every turn.
100%. This has so many implications, doesn't it, Mark? I know you and I traveled and we spoke a lot about UN Agenda 2030. This is, you know, this is a world agenda. We've shown a lot of fires.
It's happening around the world.
Around the world.
Maui.
A lot of fires.
You know, around the world this is happening, where they're driving rural folks, salt of the earth people, out of their properties by using fire. We know this is their agenda. We know this is what they're doing. And hopefully people will wake up to to the reality of the situation we're in. We're in it. And it's thick.
Yeah, we really are.
And it's nasty.
Yeah. We pray God's blessing on every one of those precious people in British Columbia. I mean, it was not long ago, it was Alberta that was fighting that.
Yep.
And so we're going to be doing something fun tonight, Mark. We're going to be in Saskatchewan, Saskatoon.
Yeah, welcome to Saskatoon, by the way.
Yeah, I am loving it. You know, I told my daughter, she goes, "Where are you today, Mom?" And so I told my daughter, I'm in Saskatoon. And she says, those people love you. And I laughed out loud because I've
We
been
do.
here. Yeah, I've been here so many times. And the thing about Saskatchewan, you were also explaining this to me, Mark, before. I know it feels like you got to go. Is work calling you at all? Or you got a minute to share? Because Saskatchewan's really significant to Canada. And the reason is because most of the voters live outside of the cities that are now, the cities are being taken in Canada by this liberal
Yes.
NDP thinking.
Yes.
But the rural people are people of faith, they're strong patriots. And in Saskatchewan, you were telling me this last night.
Well, again, they're, the people that live in rural communities, and most of Saskatchewan is rural communities, are self-reliant, self-determinate, independent, and rely on community. And this goes against what the agenda represents, where they want to turn things into this global dictatorship, authoritarian, totalitarian dictatorship. And the people of rural Saskatchewan, rural Alberta, rural Manitoba, rural BC, Northern Ontario, parts of Quebec, and the East Coast, all of these people and the values that represents goes against, is the antidote to this globalist takeover. And so I love to see people like who we just spoke to, who take the bull by the horn and they defend their own property, and they do whatever they can, and they come together as a community to do what is necessary to be done. And that's how we win this, is we come together, we unite in defense of those values.
Well, we've been talking about this for quite a while. We're definitely seeing some very bizarre things happen. And we never want to be called conspiracy theorists, except we're just truth tellers, and then the truth all comes out. You know what I mean?
Right.
The difference between...
We're always right.
Yeah, we end up being right. I mean, what we've said, what we've been following the truth for quite a while now on many different issues, not just this kind of nonsense. You know what I worry about is somehow Steph and her husband are going to end up being in trouble because, like they'll try to get them in trouble. This is what's happening. All the good people are ending up getting charges against them for obstruction or whatever, spreading false information. This is our Canada. And this is what we spoke with yesterday with the former retired police officer about the policing, how that's changed, what's happened, how it's been seized. And so I hope that real firefighters, because we've had them on our shows, real firefighters, real police officers who have integrity and whistleblowers will begin to tell the truth on this. You're probably listening right now because this is going to go big as a story from the Shushwap. It implicates sometimes police officers and it implicates firefighters. Well, be the one that tells the truth so that there can be justice brought to this situation and hope and safety for the people of Canada. That's what we pray for. So, Mark, thanks for joining me. We're going to be there tonight.
Yeah.
JT, do you have that poster that you can put up for Saskatchewan tonight? I don't know if you've already put it up. I didn't see. But the Saskatoon, we're going to be at Prairie Land. And it's like a building.
Yeah.
Is it a building? And and you go in there and we all get to meet. So I think 7 p.m. I'm going to be speaking tonight. Mark might get to say a few words, and we really would love to see you if you're anywhere in the Saskatchewan area. And also don't forget October 28th in Toronto, Lanswell now, Dr. William Mackus, Dr. James Thorpe, Dr. Byron Bridle, Dr. Brian Artis. All of these amazing people and more are going to be in the Whitby, Ontario area at the huge facility there, formerly known as the Canada's Christian College, but it's the Canada Event Center. And October 28th, we want to see you there. And I just want to leave you today. My website is Laura-Lynn.tv. Thanks for all you do to help us. We sure appreciate you. The reason that I can do this is because you guys help me to do this. And hey, throw some love Mark's way too. He has a channel and he's also got a full-time job that he's leaving to be good to us and share with us today. But you can go to the website. You can see all of our events. If you can help us out, that's real nice. We love you. Thank you. going to leave you quickly with Psalms 120. I call on the Lord in my distress, and he answers me. You know, he does answer. Sometimes we think it's a little bit late.
Does.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he? And that's what he did for you, Mark. Remember, Mark almost died, and what we did was we notified everyone across Canada to be sure to pray for Mark, because Mark, you were put on that godforsaken ventilator.
It worked.
And it worked for you.
And
everyone else pretty much died on those ventilators, Mark, right? But what we did was we called on the name of the Lord in our distress, and he answered us. We asked every pastor that we could find to pray. We had all these prayer people praying for Mark. We had them calling into your room while you're in a coma, praying out loud in your room in the name of Jesus that you would come through. And you did.
Here I am.
Here you
Still
are.
fighting the fight.
Yeah. And you're looking great. You're sounding great.
Yeah.
Thank you. And you're still fighting the fight in Saskatchewan. Yeah. 100%. You're with the Buffalo Party.
Yep.
You're telling the truth, shaming the devil.
100%.
And I really appreciate that. I love Mark. Support him, you guys. Save me, Lord, from lying lips and from deceitful tongues. We're surrounded by them, everyone. These same words that David faced, the deceit, the lying lips, that's happening today. What will he do to you, and what more besides, you deceitful tongue? God will punish you with a warrior's sharp arrows, with burning coals to the broom bush. I don't know what that means. I don't know what a broom bush is, but burning coals. God is going to use that to fight the fight for us. And Mark, we just are so grateful to the Lord for sparing your life, for answering us in our distress and your distress. You didn't know it. This was way easier on you.
Yeah, it was. I was sleeping.
But you were battling these really weird demonic forces.
I was battling demons.
Yeah. Because
no doubt about it.
When Mark was under with the ventilator,
on ketamine and fentanyl.
Yeah.
I had some wild visions.
Yeah. You were on epic journeys.
I was out there fighting demons.
Yup. And
then they came back to attack me and my family.
Yes.
That's actually why when I woke up in the hospital, that's why I thought I was in the hospital.
Yeah.
Because of all the shenanigans that I was up to.
Right, all the visions. So your beautiful wife, Yannicka, she had to kind of explain to you what was not true and what had really happened here. But, you know, what we do know is the devil tried to kill you.
Yeah, he sure did.
And God would not.
So did the government.
And the government. Yeah, it's quite a story, actually. We love to share it. And we got to do that again sometime. Let's travel Canada and bring the truth.
I'm in.
Yeah. I want you to know something, that that God is on the throne. That the word of God that I read yesterday said that he laughs at the agendas and the plans of the evil ones. He laughs at it. So if God's laughing, take a little time to laugh today. Because in the midst of all the chaos that the enemy might try to cause, God is in full control. What he doesn't control is your will. So if you could bow your will to him and give him the opportunity to do what he needs to do, that's the best place in the whole universe to be. God bless you, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next time.